escaping the matrix to win the game, break the code and have everything you wish, take a slow breath. Before we go any further, let us remember something essential. This is not about believing in ideas. It is not about adopting a philosophy because it sounds comforting or mystical. It is about direct experience. If something is true, you must be able to test it in the laboratory of your own inner life. If it does not transform your perception, if it does not alter the quality of your presence, then it remains a belief. And beliefs, no matter how beautiful, do not free you. The invitation here is simple and radical. Learn the rules of the inner game by playing it consciously. The most important principle is this: resonate in love, not as an abstract concept, not as a moral obligation, but as a frequency you stabilize within your own body and mind. And the real test of this principle is not when life is easy. It is when life confronts you with difficulty. It is easy to feel loving towards someone who smiles at you. It is easy to feel loving towards someone who agrees with you. It is easy to feel loving towards someone who gives you what you want. The true challenge appears when someone insults you, when someone betrays you, when someone manipulates, rejects, or harms you. In those moments, something contracts inside. The chest tightens. The mind accelerates. A story forms. This should not be happening. They are wrong. I am a victim. I must defend myself. The game is not the situation. The game is the contraction. The outer event is a trigger. The inner reaction is the playing field. And here is the deeper understanding. Every situation, without exception, contains love. Though it may not appear in the form you expect, sometimes love appears as generosity and kindness. Sometimes love appears as pressure. Sometimes love appears disguised as conflict. When someone acts selfishly, they are acting from a distorted form of love, a love limited to their own survival, their own fear, their own unmet needs. It is a contracted love. It is incomplete, but at its core, it is still a movement toward what they believe will protect or fulfill them. This does not mean you approve harmful behavior. It does not mean you allow abuse. It does not mean you deny boundaries. It means that internally, you refuse to let your heart become poisoned by resentment. Your responsibility is not to fix the world. Your responsibility is to keep your inner field clear. The measure of your progress is not what happens outside you. It is what happens within you. You are not evaluated by outcomes. You are transformed by your reactions. The body and the mind are the field. Every event is an opportunity to observe, did I close or did I remain open? Did I descend into bitterness or did I return to presence? Did I harden or did I soften? Now, let us address the most difficult situations of all, family. It is relatively easy to interpret conflict with a stranger as part of the game. You can say, this is just a lesson. But when the difficulty involves a parent, a sibling, a partner, someone who shaped your earliest experiences, the emotions are deeper. The wounds are older. The patterns are more embedded. Many who seek spiritual understanding notice something curious. They did not arrive in perfectly harmonious environments. Often, the soul that longs for awakening is born into complexity, into chaos, into misunderstanding. Why? Because growth requires friction. A seed does not blossom in comfort alone. It breaks open in darkness. The presence of challenge does not indicate punishment. It indicates potential. Now consider this perspective. What if relationships are not accidental? What if certain souls agree, at a level beyond the personality, to play difficult roles for one another in order to accelerate growth? Imagine two beings in a state of clarity before entering a lifetime. One says, "In order to learn strength, I need resistance. In order to discover self-worth, I need to experience rejection. In order to awaken compassion, I need to face anger." And another responds, "I will play that role for you." From the human viewpoint, it appears cruel. From the deeper viewpoint, it is cooperation. This does not justify abuse. It does not excuse harm. On the human level, accountability remains necessary. Boundaries remain essential. Healing remains essential. But internally, a shift occurs when you consider that the difficulty itself may be part of a larger choreography. At the end of a lifetime, there is no external judge imposing punishment. There is clarity. You see your life without distortion. You see your reactions. You see where you closed and where you opened. You see the opportunities you used. You see the opportunities you resisted. And the most intense judgment, if it arises, is your own. No one is harsher on you than you are on yourself. And in that clarity, growth is chosen again. Not from guilt, but from aspiration. Next time, I will respond differently. Next time, I will remain open longer. Next time, I will forgive sooner. This is not a cycle of revenge. It is a cycle of evolution. What you call karma is not cosmic punishment. It is energetic balance. It is the natural tendency of consciousness to complete what was left incomplete. Now, let us take this understanding further. If every situation contains an opportunity for growth, then the most powerful act you can perform is not domination, not accumulation, not moral superiority. It is gratitude. Gratitude for comfort is easy. Gratitude for challenge is mastery. When you can feel sincere appreciation, not forced positivity, not spiritual bypassing, but genuine recognition toward those who triggered you, something extraordinary happens. The resentment dissolves. The contraction loosens. The energy returns to you. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You become a conscious participant. This is the real shift. The outer world may still contain injustice, imbalance, corruption, ignorance, but your inner field no longer mirrors that chaos. You stop fighting shadows. You start cultivating light. The true measure of this game is not wealth, status, or power. It is the condition of your heart. Are you reactive or responsive? Are you bitter or aware? Are you rigid or fluid? Every insult is a test of your inner stability. Every loss is a test of your attachment. Every betrayal is a test of your capacity to remain open without becoming naive. To resonate in love does not mean becoming passive. It means remaining aligned. It means acting from clarity instead of rage. It means setting boundaries without hatred. It means recognizing that even those who appear lost are moving, in their own way, toward what they believe is survival or fulfillment. The deepest liberation occurs when you no longer need the world to behave differently in order for you to feel whole. When you understand that the situation contains love, even if it is distorted, even if it is hidden, you stop resisting reality. And when resistance dissolves, Suffering decreases. You still feel pain, but you do not amplify it with narrative. You still experience difficulty, but you do not build identity around it. The game is subtle. You cannot win it by force. You win it by awareness. You win it by returning again and again to an open heart. And perhaps the most radical realization of all is this: the people who challenge you the most are often the ones who accelerate your awakening. Not because they are right, not because they are virtuous, but because they reveal to you where you are still attached, still reactive, still unconscious. They expose the places within you that are ready to heal. And if you can look at even them, even those who seem to stand against you, and say internally, "Thank you for showing me what I needed to see," then something profound has shifted. You have moved from blame to responsibility, from resistance to growth, from belief to knowing. And that knowing does not come from adopting a spiritual idea. It comes from lived experience. Test it. The next time someone triggers you, pause. Observe the contraction. Breathe. Ask yourself, can I respond from love here? Not weakness, not submission, but love, clarity, without hatred. If you can, even once, you will feel the difference immediately. That feeling is the confirmation. That is how you know you are learning the rules. That is how you know you are no longer merely believing. And that is how the inner game begins to transform you from the inside out. Before to learn how to win this game and break the illusion of the matrix, you need to understand quickly some of the elements that are part of this program. Pay attention to this. To win the game, to escape the matrix, you need to understand this. Because understanding the how it works, you'll become the winner. First, the game within the game. There is a misunderstanding so fundamental, so pervasive, that nearly every human being lives and dies without clearly seeing it. The misunderstanding is not about politics, not about religion, not about economics, not even about morality. It is about what is actually happening here. We believe we are playing the game of life, but life is not the game. Life is the environment. The real game is interior. This distinction is so subtle that the mind resists it immediately. It says, "Of course life is the game. I must survive, succeed, build, achieve, protect, grow, win." But all of that belongs to the scenery, the terrain, the programmed environment. The true board, the only board that matters, is your emotional field. Everything else is influence. Everything else is catalyst. Everything else is stimulus. But the score is kept within. Second, the great confusion. Success versus mastery. From the moment we enter this world, we are trained to optimize for external metrics. We are told that the purpose is to become economically stable, socially respected, physically attractive, emotionally secure, and spiritually good. We are told that if we achieve enough of these markers, we are winning. And if we fail to achieve them, we are losing. But there are people who have achieved everything society defines as success: wealth, beauty, influence, admiration, and yet internally they are fragmented, terrified, resentful, attached, and deeply identified with a fragile character. And there are others who live in modest circumstances, who appear ordinary, who are not celebrated, and yet internally they are coherent, light, unattached, and fast. The game is not about what you accumulate. It is about what you release. The game is not about what you control. It is about what you can let go of. Third, the game board, the emotional field. Imagine that your entire life is like a virtual reality simulation. The environment is rich with detail, relationships, money, status, illness, opportunity, obstacles. These are rendered with incredible realism. But none of that is the board. The board is the reaction. The board is the emotion that arises when the stimulus appears. When someone insults you, the insult is not the game. The contraction in your chest is, when you lose money, the loss is not the game. The fear that floods your nervous system is, when someone praises you, the praise is not the game. The attachment to being admired is, the external event is neutral in the deeper sense. It is a programmed input. What matters is what frequency you choose to stabilize in response. The only two fundamental frequencies are love and fear. Everything else is a derivative. Fourth, duality revisited. Not good and evil. Most spiritual traditions describe duality as good versus evil, light versus darkness. But this framing assumes that we can objectively evaluate what is good and what is bad in the long term. We cannot. Human perception is narrow and immediate. We evaluate based on present comfort or discomfort. But what appears catastrophic today may catalyze extraordinary expansion tomorrow. And what appears fortunate today may generate attachment that leads to collapse later. Consider a navigation system offering two routes. One is clear, the other congested. Naturally, you choose the clear one. But the data is based on the present moment. It cannot predict what will unfold. Likewise, when life presents two choices, you evaluate based on surface appearance. But the deeper game is not measuring outcome. It is measuring vibration. Did you choose from fear, or did you choose from love? That is all. Fifth, fear. The root of contraction fear is not evil. It is simply the absence of perceived love. When love is not consciously accessed, fear fills the vacuum. Fear produces two primary reactions: paralysis or aggression. Paralysis says, freeze, hide, disappear. Aggression says, attack, dominate, defend. These reactions are ancient. They are biological. But in the human realm, they become subtle. A person may appear calm and polite, but internally be filled with suppressed rage. Society condemns outward aggression, so the aggression is internalized. What happens to aggression that is not expressed outwardly? It turns inward. It becomes self-criticism. It becomes self-sabotage. It becomes addiction. It becomes overeating. It becomes body armor. It becomes obsession. It becomes depression. The aggression does not vanish. It redirects. And the game measures the frequency beneath the behavior, not the behavior itself. Sixth, social rules versus game rules society measures action. The game measures vibration. You may help someone out of guilt. You may donate out of fear of judgment. You may remain silent out of cowardice. You may appear virtuous while internally consumed by resentment. From society's perspective, you are winning. From the game's perspective, you are vibrating in fear. Only you know the truth of your inner field, and at the end of the round, you will see it clearly. Seventh, the 3 evaluations at the end of a round. When a lifetime ends, there is clarity, not judgment from an external deity. Self-revelation. You see your hand of cards. You see the circumstances you were given. You see the challenges. You see the triggers. You see the opportunities. And you see how you played them. The evaluation unfolds in 3 domains. 1, influence. Spirit, this is not about how much information you shared. It is about your vibrational impact. Did your presence elevate others? Did you stabilize love in your field? Did you transmit coherence? You do not influence through lectures. You influence through frequency. If you processed pain quickly and returned to love, that field rippled outward. If you remained in resentment and victimhood, that too rippled outward. This is the spiritual imprint. Relationship with matter is part of the environment. Your body, your wealth, your beauty, your possessions. The question is not what you had. The question is, were you attached? Did you judge yourself through matter? Did you manipulate through it? Did you fear losing it? 2 people may be physically attractive. One accepts it neutrally. The other becomes enslaved by preserving it. The action, makeup, surgery, fitness, may look similar. The vibration differs. If driven by fear of rejection, it contracts. If arising from appreciation, it may expand. The game measures attachment, not aesthetics. And 3, consciousness, wisdom. Wisdom is not accumulated knowledge. Wisdom is velocity. How fast can you exit pain? Painful events are inevitable. Suffering is extended identification. If someone insults you and you replay it for years, you are self-inflicting pain repeatedly. Wisdom extracts the lesson and releases the story. Letting go of resentment is rehearsal for the ultimate release, letting go of the character. 8th, the character you created a character. Before entering the game, you chose your avatar. It has a name, a history, preferences, strengths, insecurities, image. The game can only attack you through what you are attached to. If you are attached to intelligence, the game will challenge your intelligence. If attached to beauty, it will threaten beauty. If attached to morality, it will expose shadow. The objective of the deeper game is to loosen identification with a character. To die before dying, not physically, psychologically. Every time you risk embarrassment, you weaken the character. Every time you step into something unfamiliar, you expand. Comfort reinforces identity. Expansion destabilizes it. The origin has no personality, no biography, no status. Returning to it requires surrendering the mask. When you finish the game, that avatar will be gone, and all the other players will be waiting for you to hear your stories and adventures. How do you want to be received by the crowds out of the game? 9th, the matrix and velocity the matrix metaphor illustrates something profound. Neo bends the rules not because he is stronger, but because he perceives the code. When you recognize that every painful event contains love, you process it faster. You do not collapse into victimhood. You do not identify with the role of the wounded one. You see the lesson. You extract the expansion. You move on. This increases velocity. Velocity is not rushing. It is speed of recognition. The faster you recognize illusion, the less control it has over you. Eventually, you move faster than the programmed reactions of the game. You dodge bullets, not by force, but by perception. 10th, expansion versus moral appearance. Some individuals who appear selfish are internally coherent. They do not judge themselves. They act in alignment with their desire. They expand. Meanwhile, some who appear spiritual are internally fragmented. They preach love while harboring resentment. The game does not reward appearance. It rewards coherence. Coherence is alignment between inner and outer. When you stop judging yourself, you approximate the origin, which does not judge. Self-judgment is internal fragmentation. Acceptance is unity. 11th, letting go as mastery life will repeatedly trigger your character. Humiliation, loss, rejection, failure. Each trigger is an invitation. Can you release it quickly? Can you see the love behind it? Can you detach from the narrative? Letting go is not weakness. It is velocity. The more quickly you release identification, the more fluid you become. And fluidity is freedom. 12th, the subtle difference. There is a difference between playing life well and playing the real game well. Playing life well means achieving stability, status, admiration. Playing the real game well means maintaining love under pressure. One is external optimization. The other is internal liberation. They may overlap, but they are not the same. 13th and last one, final understanding. The environment will continue. Money will flow and disappear. Bodies will age. Relationships will shift. Characters will rise and fall. But the only question that matters is this. In each moment, are you operating from fear or from love? How quickly can you return to love? How lightly can you wear the character? How unattached can you remain to the scenery? The game is not out there. It is within. And you are both the player and the evaluator. The world may never know if you won, but you will. Now that you know the tools and elements you received to play the game, pay attention, because this is the secret code for escaping the matrix, to hack the game, the art of inner movement. If there is a way to transcend the game, it is not by running from it. It is not by withdrawing to a cave. It is not by distracting yourself with pleasure. It is not by conquering the external world. It is not by rearranging circumstances endlessly. Escape is not geographical. It is vibrational. Most people try to escape discomfort by changing the outside. They move cities. They change partners. They switch careers. They scroll, consume, entertain, argue, chase, accumulate. Movement is constant, but it is external. Externally, they are in motion. Internally, they are frozen. And that is the real trap. The game is not escaped by changing scenery. It is transcended by changing frequency. True movement is internal. It is emotional movement. It is the willingness to feel fully. It is the courage to let energy pass through you without resistance. Think of yourself as inhabiting a character, a body, a personality, a story. This character experiences waves, joy, fear, anger, desire, shame, excitement, grief. Most of the time, instead of allowing these waves to move, you suppress them, deny them, or identify with them. Suppression creates stagnation. Identification creates entanglement. Both prevent movement. Escaping the game requires flow. When anger arises, feel it consciously. without acting it out blindly and without condemning it. Let it burn cleanly through the body. When sadness appears, allow it to soften you. When fear contracts you, observe it with compassion. Emotion is energy in motion. When you allow it to move, you evolve quickly. When you resist it, you repeat the same lesson. The speed of your inner movement determines the speed of your growth. It is speed of recognition. The faster you recognize illusion, the less control it has over you. Eventually, you move faster than the programmed reactions of the game. You dodge bullets, not by force, but by perception. 10th, expansion versus moral appearance. Some individuals who appear selfish are internally coherent. They do not judge themselves. They act in alignment with their desire. They expand. Meanwhile, some who appear spiritual are internally fragmented. They preach love while harboring resentment. The game does not reward appearance. It rewards coherence. Coherence is alignment between inner and outer. When you stop judging yourself, you approximate the origin, which does not judge. Self-judgment is internal fragmentation. Acceptance is unity. 11th, letting go as mastery life will repeatedly trigger your character. Humiliation, loss, rejection, failure. Each trigger is an invitation. Can you release it quickly? Can you see the love behind it? Can you detach from the narrative? Letting go is not weakness. It is velocity. The more quickly you release identification, the more fluid you become. And fluidity is freedom. 12th, the subtle difference. There is a difference between playing life well and playing the real game well. Playing life well means achieving stability, status, admiration. Playing the real game well means maintaining love under pressure. One is external optimization. The other is internal liberation. They may overlap, but they are not the same. 13th and last one, final understanding. The environment will continue. Money will flow and disappear. Bodies will age. Relationships will shift. Characters will rise and fall. But the only question that matters is this. In each moment, are you operating from fear or from love? How quickly can you return to love? How lightly can you wear the character? How unattached can you remain to the scenery? The game is not out there. It is within. And you are both the player and the evaluator. The world may never know if you won, but you will. Now that you know the tools and elements you received to play the game, pay attention, because this is the secret code for escaping the matrix, to hack the game, the art of inner movement. If there is a way to transcend the game, it is not by running from it. It is not by withdrawing to a cave. It is not by distracting yourself with pleasure. It is not by conquering the external world. It is not by rearranging circumstances endlessly. Escape is not geographical. It is vibrational. Most people try to escape discomfort by changing the outside. They move cities. They change partners. They switch careers. They scroll, consume, entertain, argue, chase, accumulate. Movement is constant. But it is external. Externally, they are in motion. Internally, they are frozen. And that is the real trap. The game is not escaped by changing scenery. It is transcended by changing frequency. True movement is internal. It is emotional movement. It is the willingness to feel fully It is the courage to let energy pass through you without resistance. Think of yourself as inhabiting a character, a body, a personality, a story. This character experiences waves, joy, fear, anger, desire, shame, excitement, grief. Most of the time, instead of allowing these waves to move, you suppress them, deny them, or identify with them. Suppression creates stagnation. Identification creates entanglement. Both prevent movement. Escaping the game requires flow. When anger arises, feel it consciously, without acting it out blindly and without condemning it. Let it burn cleanly through the body. When sadness appears, allow it to soften you. When fear contracts you, observe it with compassion. Emotion is energy in motion. When you allow it to move, you evolve quickly. When you resist it, you repeat the same lesson. The speed of your inner movement determines the speed of your growth. This is what people mean when they speak of hacking reality. It is not about manipulating external events through force. It is about altering your internal state so completely that the outer world reorganizes around your coherence. Reality responds to vibration. If you remain stuck in resentment, life reflects resistance. If you remain in pessimism, life reflects limitation. If you remain in procrastination, life reflects stagnation. Internal stillness, not the stillness of presence, but the stillness of avoidance, is decay. To stay in the same emotional pattern year after year is to remain at the same level of the game. Escaping requires motion, and motion requires honesty. You must be willing to feel what you have avoided. You must be willing to admit where you are afraid, where you are attached, where you seek validation, where you hide. This is not comfortable, but comfort is not the goal. Freedom is. The capacity to leave pain behind is the key. Notice the distinction. Not denying pain, not pretending it does not exist, but processing it fully and releasing identification with it. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is repetition. If someone hurts you and you replay the memory for years, you are keeping the wound alive. If you extract the lesson and let the story dissolve, you move. Each time you release resentment, you accelerate. Each time you forgive, not to excuse, but to free yourself, you rise. Each time you choose love instead of bitterness, your frequency shifts. And this shift changes what you attract, what you perceive, what you allow. You begin to manifest not because you control the universe, but because you are no longer internally contradicting yourself. A fragmented being manifests chaos. A coherent being manifests clarity. Internal movement leads to coherence. Coherence leads to creative power. But there is a subtle trap here. When you begin to feel stronger, lighter, more aligned, the ego may whisper, "Now, I will use this to be admired. Now, I will use this to be superior. Now, I will be recognized as awakened." This is another layer of the game. Service that seeks recognition is still entangled. Love that seeks applause is still conditional. True self-love is quiet. It does not need witnesses. It does not require validation. Self-love is not indulgence. It is not narcissism. It is not self-absorption. Self-love is the commitment to remain aligned with truth within yourself. When you love yourself, you stop betraying your intuition. You stop tolerating what diminishes you. you stop speaking against your own heart. And from that stability, service becomes natural. You help because it is an overflow. You give because you are full. You contribute because it is your nature, not because you need to be seen as good. Recognition is seductive, but it binds you to the external scoreboard again. The deeper escape from the game is indifference to applause and indifference to condemnation. You act from alignment. You move internally with love. You vibrate with compassion. You release negativity quickly. Negativity is not evil. It is stagnation. Prolonged pessimism is simply unprocessed fear. Procrastination is often disguised avoidance of discomfort. When you avoid action that you know aligns with your growth, you reinforce the old identity. Escaping the game means refusing to remain in old identities. It means dying psychologically, again and again, not physically, but in pattern. The person who was offended yesterday does not need to exist today. The person who failed last year does not need to define this year. You are not required to remain consistent with your past suffering. Internal movement means choosing, in this moment, a higher frequency than the one you occupied before. Not artificially, not by pretending, but by processing honestly and then releasing. You cannot stay in the same internal place. Stagnation is slow defeat. Growth is dynamic. Love is dynamic. Love moves. It expands. It forgives. It creates. It dares. It risks vulnerability. It risks authenticity. To escape the game is to become fluid. Rigid identities crack under pressure. Fluid consciousness adapts and flows. When you vibrate in love, you are no longer fighting reality. You are collaborating with it. And when collaboration replaces resistance, life feels lighter. You still experience challenges, but you are no longer trapped by them. You process faster. You release faster. You return to equilibrium faster. This velocity is freedom. The one who wins the game is not the one who accumulates the most. It is the one who carries the least. The one who can walk through insult without hatred, through loss without despair, through success without arrogance. The one who moves internally, constantly refining, constantly softening, constantly aligning. Escape is not departure from the world. It is transcendence of unconscious reaction. It is mastery of your inner field. And when your inner field is clear, coherent, loving, the outer world becomes less threatening, less controlling, less heavy. The game loses its grip because you are no longer playing unconsciously. You are moving. And in that movement, you are free. Now we arrive at the most delicate and transformative understanding. How do you escape the game? Not by leaving your job, not by abandoning society, not by retreating into distraction, not by numbing yourself with entertainment or substances, not by chasing endless spiritual experiences. Escape is not external. Escape is internal movement. Most people are externally active but internally stagnant. They move cities, change relationships, switch careers, travel the world, yet internally they remain in the same emotional position. Resentment, fear, blame, self-doubt, victimhood. They replay the same patterns in new environments. That is not movement. That is relocation of the same vibration. Internal movement is different. The key is this: how fast can you stop feeling pain? Let the pain go through you. It doesn't belong to you. It just wants an avatar to be felt. Once you feel it, it will be gone. Internal movement means allowing emotion to move through you without resistance. It means feeling fully, not suppressing, not dramatizing, not identifying, but feeling. Imagine you are an avatar in a virtual world. The avatar experiences impact, but you, the player, are not harmed. When sadness arises, instead of labeling it weakness, you allow it to flow. When anger arises, instead of suppressing or projecting, you feel its energy move. When fear arises, instead of numbing, you breathe into it. Emotion is energy in motion. If you resist it, it stagnates. If it stagnates, it becomes identity. Stagnation is losing the game. Movement is winning. To escape the matrix is to increase internal movement speed. This does not mean rushing. It means allowing. The more honestly you feel, the faster emotion processes. The faster emotion processes, the faster you return to love. And love is high frequency. When you stabilize in love, reality reorganizes. Magically, not in a fantasy sense, but coherently. Your perception sharpens. Your decisions align. Your nervous system regulates. Your intuition becomes clearer. You begin to manifest differently because you are no longer manifesting from fear. Manifestation is not forcing the world. It is aligning frequency. If you attempt to manifest while internally stagnant in resentment, the result will mirror resentment. If you manifest from love, expansion mirrors love. The key to escaping the matrix is this: do not remain internally still. Move, feel, release, forgive, shift, choose again. Leaving pain behind is not denial. It is integration. You extract the lesson and drop the weight. Remaining in pessimism is choosing stagnation. Remaining in negativity is feeding the program. Remaining in procrastination is paralysis. The matrix thrives on internal stillness. It thrives on loops. It thrives on repetition of unresolved emotion. Movement dissolves loops. Love accelerates movement. Self-love is the ignition. Self-love is not vanity. It is not ego. Self-love is allowing yourself to feel without judgment. It is treating your inner world with compassion. When you love yourself internally, you stop attacking yourself. When self-attack ends, fragmentation ends. When fragmentation ends, coherence begins, and coherence alters perception. When you are coherent, you serve naturally, not for recognition, not for validation, not for applause. Service becomes expression. Recognition becomes irrelevant. Seeking recognition is another trap of the matrix. It binds your identity to external approval. It slows velocity. It increases attachment. True service flows from fullness, not from deficiency. When you move internally with love, you vibrate at a frequency that subtly reorganizes your environment. Opportunities align. People respond differently. Synchronicities increase, not because you forced reality, but because you are no longer resisting it. Escape is not departure. Escape is transcendence through movement. The moment you refuse to stagnate emotionally, you step beyond the trap. The moment you release pain instead of rehearsing it, you weaken the program. The moment you choose love instead of fear, you alter your timeline. You are both avatar and player. You are both character, and awareness. The matrix dissolves not when you fight it, but when you outgrow it. And outgrowing it requires movement. Constant, honest, courageous internal movement. Feel deeply. Release quickly. Love continuously. Serve quietly. Move internally. Faster than fear. That is how you escape. That is how you win. And the world may never know. But you will. Nothing new was given to you. If these words stirred something within you, it's because they awakened what was already there. You simply remembered what you've always known. Allow that remembering to unfold. Come back to this space whenever you feel the need to center yourself, to go deeper, to reconnect with your truth. And if this message resonates with your path, subscribe to the channel and continue the journey.